If the state government reduces substantially their educational grants to Wilton and further asks Wilton to pay, for example, an additional $2 million annually in teachers' pension costs that would be added to the Board of Education budget expenses, would you, number one, seek to find appropriate cost savings in the upcoming Board of Education budget to partially or fully cover it, or two, ask the town citizens for a tax increase to cover it? Mr. Hemmerly.
Well, you didn't give me the third option, which would be to sue the state, because they can't do it. Okay. I just don't think the state can do it. I think legally there's no rationale for it. It is a grab on the part of the state to try and solve the state problems that they inherited and they adopted. They have the responsibility for the teachers' retirement program, not the town and not the school system. We've already begun to make adjustments, though, for the educational cost sharing grant. We've reduced that, and our forecasts have taken a reduction already. It may go lower, or we may get nothing. Okay, we're not sure. That hasn't decided yet. Our state can't seem to come together and get a budget. We will not sacrifice what we need to do for the students and the teachers under any circumstances, period, end of conversation. It won't happen. We are in a very competitive environment in Wilton with our surrounding communities for residents, and if we do anything that harms or detracts from the quality of the education that we provide, it's going to weaken our position. And so, no, we'll find a way, we'll deal with it, but we will not sacrifice what we need to do to teach our students.
Thank you. Ms. Lowe.
Developing the budget, I think, will be the major challenge facing the board this year. When I was superintendent in Ridgefield, I developed budgets during the recession. It took a great amount of effort, and it was truly a team project. So it starts with rigorous management and includes ongoing review of operational practices with an eye towards efficiency. We must search for creative cost savings, including collaborating with the town, as has been described with the facilities and the finance departments. We can also perhaps work with neighboring districts and investigate possible shared service agreements and purchasing contracts that might lower costs. Budgeting requires a really sharp focus. Among the many needs, the board must choose limited and clear initiatives for the year and ensure their efficient implementation. In addition, budgeting requires a long view, looking at enrollment projections, future capital needs, making forecasts, analyzing data, etc. It takes good information to make wise decisions about very limited resources. The board must also fulfill its educational mission. Like other professions and businesses, change is rapid. Although tempting to halt new work during these difficult times, it creates a backlog. If we postpone, we fail to do the best for our current students, and we face untenable increases in the future. A successful budget ultimately means protecting our investment. We need to support targeted, well-researched, and steady investments to protect our tradition of educational excellence in Wilton.
Thank you. Ms. Jeans, same question.
Can you actually repeat the question, please?
Of course. If the state government reduces substantially their educational grants to Wilton and further asks Wilton to pay, for an example, an additional $2 million annually in teachers' pension costs that would be added to the Board of Education budget expenses, would you, number one, seek to find appropriate cost savings in the upcoming Board of Education budget to partially or fully cover it, or two, ask the town citizens for a tax increase to cover it?
So to answer those, the 1 and 2 questions, I would not pursue the trying to either add the $2 million to the Board of Education budget or ask the town. I was under the impression that the most recent budget that was approved by the House doesn't include the pensions, but I'm also under the impression that Rudy Marconi from Ridgefield, who's also the vice president of the Council of Small Towns, is looking at a lawsuit to the state, claiming that this should not be something that the municipalities should be covering. So that's my feeling on all of that. Regarding any cuts that are coming, my former career, I was a project manager in construction, and one of my responsibilities was managing multi-million-dollar projects. And we were always dealing with having to cut things that people needed and wanted out of the budget to make sure that it was going to work. And it's never easy, but it will happen. I believe that although education and construction are not the same, dealing with budgets and drilling down to find out what we can actually take away that's not going to affect what's helping our children and our teachers is something that I think that we can look into while we're putting together a more strict, tight budget.
Thank you. Ms. Preston?
Well, of course, the ideal solution would be to sue the state, but none of us know what the outcome of that would be. So to answer both parts of the question, I think being a Board of Education member, I would constantly be looking for efficiencies in the school budget, but without sacrificing the quality of education. I think we could just do our best to find the savings. If we couldn't find the savings, there is a potential where we would possibly have to ask the taxpayers.
Mr. Hammerling, would you care to rebut?
I would imagine that there'll be other questions regarding the budget. I just want to say that it is probably one of the most, if not the most important thing that we do on the Board of Ed, is to develop the annual budget. And I think we've done a pretty good job of that over the last few years. Last year we delivered a zero increase budget. Guidance has just come down from the Board of Finance for this coming year's budget at 1%. It's going to be difficult, to be honest. I don't know how we're going to do it, but I can assure you that we always keep in sight the community needs.
Thank you. Ms. Lowe, 30 seconds.
Well, like everyone, I hope that the pension does not become such a horrible bear for the town to tackle. The most recent talks seem to be that it will be avoided somehow, but it will nevertheless be a delicate balancing act this year with the budget. There will still be reduced state funds no matter what.
Ms. Jeans.
One other thing is, as I had mentioned, I'm a member of the Miller Driscoll Building Committee, and I was the subcommittee chair for the furniture, fixtures, and equipment. When I came on board in January of 2016, we re-looked at how the furniture was being purchased and reallocated where the furniture was going to go within the building, which did bring a savings of close to $200,000. So it is something that we can look at. Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Preston, do you care for another 30 seconds?
I'm okay. Thank you.
All right, fine.